for weeks. That's a problem. Okay, and I know the season has been over for a long time. They're not going to make the playoffs. But if you're in a position where the head coach and the front office, the general manager, the president of basketball operations are not in lockstep, if there's not a trust, if there's not a relationship there that has had 2 years to build, then what are you doing as an organization?
That's my jaw dropping. I assume that vaults ahead of LeBron as the first issue the Lakers have to address in the offseason that starts in a couple hours.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the bottom line is this. What do you want them to do? Hug and sing kumbaya to one another? You're about to fire the man. There's nothing to talk about there. Want to go to Starbucks and get a drink or a latte or something? He's not going to be there come tomorrow. That is the reality of the situation. And people like myself and many others are willing to look at the Lakers roster, recognize he didn't have much to work with because Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson didn't get him any shooters. And as a result, he went from improving 9 games in each of the past 2 seasons to not improving nearly that much when you had the best player in the world at that particular moment in time. But there comes a point in time where we have to realize if somebody's not your guy, if somebody's not the guy that you wanted, if you inherited somebody that you would not have particularly wanted, then the end is inevitable. And that's what's going on here right now. So we feel sorry for Luke Walton because obviously he deserved better, but it's very predictable what's transpiring. Magic Johnson wants his own guy, just like he wants his own players. So he's going to be out with one coach. He's going to be in with another. And he's got to be sold on LeBron James, who he signed to a 4-year, $153 million max deal. That's the reality of big boy world in the business of basketball. People need to get over it because it's just that way.
I have the coach, Jeannie Buss. Stephen A. Smith, who is in the chair for the second hour of Sports Center, my friend Jeannie Buss. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be watching. Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy.
The man never stops working. That is Stephen A. Smith. As KO just told you, a special edition of Sports Center coming your way. The top of the hour, Damian Lillard. His Blazers getting ready for the Jazz in the playoffs, averaging 26 points per fantastic star, joining Stephen A. Smith, top of the hour.
The Lakers' latest drama. I want to take a moment to talk about Dwayne Wade in Miami. As we speak, they're getting ready to celebrate this man, one of the greatest cards in the history of the NBA, a 3-time champion, a former league scoring champion, an Olympian. This man has been absolutely phenomenal as a player. As far as I'm concerned, he's going into the Hall of Fame as one of the top 5 shooting guards in the history of basketball. 7 straight seasons from 2005 to 2012, averaging a minimum of 24 games. We know what he did in terms of recruiting LeBron to South Beach. And Chris Bosh, by the way. And we know what he did for Shaq when he won his first title, just destroying the Dallas Mavericks in their last 4 games after being down 2-0. But more importantly than anything else, no matter how great he was as a guard, as a player, as a star in the NBA, it is nothing compared to the great individual that he was. It was an honor to cover him for his entire career in the NBA. We're going to miss him. Thank you, D. Wade, for everything you've done.
I've always been the leader of the pack. I've always been the commander. I've always been the person in front. I've always wanted what everybody else didn't want. I want people to say that LeBron James did it his way, and now he's a legend.
I know it's going to be very challenging just because of the experience that the roster had at that point in time. I would never get comfortable with losing. The last few years, everybody's so accustomed to the losses that I'm just not accustomed to.
LeBron James is used to his seasons ending in June, as that's been the case in each of the prior 8 seasons before this year. However, LeBron played his final game of 2018-2019 in March for a Lakers team whose season ends tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. Welcoming in our NBA reporter extraordinaire, Dave McMenamin, live from the Staples Center. Dave, let's get right into it. Ramona Shelburne, obviously doing an outstanding job, as she always does, reported that Magic Johnson and Luke Walton have not spoken for weeks. The report is basically saying that Luke Walton is gone, which is something that we've all been hearing about and we all know. We know that much about the guy that's about to be out as head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. What is it that we don't know that's been going on with Luke Walton and the Lakers over the last several months?
Well, Stephen, we have to think about the hypocrisy of the mixed messages, right? Right now, he doesn't hear from Magic Johnson. Earlier in the year, Rob Pelinka, the GM, was sitting in on coaches' meetings and involving himself at a granular level. That's not a normal practice that happens with a coaching staff and a front office. And then beyond that, I mean, we're going about a couple weeks now, but the team was flying back from Milwaukee to LA at the end of a 5-game road trip. Luke is on the plane with Jeannie Buss. She was on that trip with the team. And rather than saying or complaining that, this team has been so hard to manage or the roster was constructed poorly, Luke was focusing on the future. And he said to Jeannie, hey, I'm in my first year with this group. Magic and Pelinka are both young in these positions. Why not give us a chance to move forward together? It appears that message fell on deaf ears as the Lakers look at the coaching situation moving forward.
Luke Walton's record coming into the season finale against Portland tonight is 98-147. That's a 40% winning percentage. Obviously, that doesn't bode well for him. But is he on his way out the door because of that record, because of inefficiency? Or is it a situation where he was never Magic Johnson's guy to begin with, and he never really had a chance at staying on as head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, Stephen A., what happened to the coach of the year in the Eastern Conference last year, Dwayne Casey? He was let go, and they made a playoff run. And why was he let go? Ultimately, because he wasn't hired by Masai Ujiri in Toronto. And this happens time and time again in this league. Now, is it fair? Certainly not. Luke Walton's winning percentage, while not overwhelming, was an improvement. The 3 years prior to him arriving, the Lakers are winning around 26% of their games. And so he's done some things. You talk to people like Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball. All of them feel like they are better pros because they've played under Luke Walton. But this is a really tough job, and you're dealing with an aging superstar, one-year contract veterans, and then that young core. I'm not sure if there's any coach who would have been cut out to get this team this year to the playoffs. But that was the goal of Magic Johnson in the front office, and someone, apparently, probably Luke Walton, will pay the price for not meeting that goal.
Who's going to pick the next coach? Magic Johnson or LeBron James, or a combination of the two?
I would hope, Stephen A., it's a combination of the two. Now, ultimately, the person who has to answer for whomever the coach is and however it goes has to be Magic Johnson. But it would be foolish not to consult LeBron in this process, because that's what you do when you have a player of his stature in terms of both the game now and the game all time. And listen, if you don't, you could just be setting yourself up for another headache. So I would hope that LeBron James is involved in the decision-making process. There should be a consensus, though. I mean, LeBron, Magic, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, I hope all of them feel good about whomever comes in to be the next coach, because you don't want to be in the same situation next year looking at the playoffs and wondering, man, did we make the wrong decision?
Dave, how much, before I let you go real quick, how much culpability does LeBron accept for what happened during this season? Obviously, they were a 4th seed before he went down Christmas Day with the groin injury and missed 17 consecutive games. They've never been the same since. We've seen dysfunction rake through this franchise in very public ways. Does he accept any culpability for it, or is he looking elsewhere in terms of that?
He hasn't run from it. It's not like he's saying it's all on him. Perhaps he's saying it's all on the injury that he suffered on Christmas Day, but that coincided with the injury to Rajon Rondo. And, of course, we know that the Lakers are limping into the postseason with no Lonzo Ball on the court, no Kyle Kuzma, no Josh Hart, no Brandon Ingram also. So the injuries really are the thing to blame here. But LeBron, of course, because you go back to last summer, Magic Johnson presented this plan to bring in playmakers around him rather than shooters. Well, LeBron had to sign off on that plan. And so there's a level of culpability there, and the level of culpability on just his body not being able to allow him to be on the court as much as they needed him to make it into the playoffs in a really tough Western Conference.
Well, I sincerely doubt that'll be the case next year. I expect him to come out big time next year and be a league MVP candidate again. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyronn Lue is his coach in the process. Dave McMenamin, our NBA reporter extraordinaire. Great job as always, buddy. Thank you so much.
Is underway. Culver driving, spinning to the rim. Layup good. Texas Tech grabs the lead. Open three, DeAndre Hunter got it. And overtime beckons in the national championship. Hunter shooting a three. Watch it home from ruin to redemption. The Virginia Cavaliers are the 2019 NCAA National Champions.
Yay, look who's in studio with yours truly, the one and only Ice Cube. How are you?
What's up, baby?
How are you, my man? It's good to see you. Let's get right into it because you saw the national championship game last night. You saw Virginia win the national title over Texas Tech. Before I even get into it with you about the Lakers and beyond, what are your thoughts and where do you stand on college athletes being paid?
They definitely should be paid. You know, there's so much money in college sports. The money is just going up, and I think they should be paid. You know, I mean, they should have a path to make money. If I go to the college and I don't play sports, I can go make some money. So why, just because I'm on the team, am I being punished and not able to secure even a shoe deal or whatever and make some money? Why not?
It's interesting. I ask you that question because I think about you being a co-founder of the Big Three Basketball League, 3-on-3 Basketball League, which has been very, very successful thus far. Congratulations on that. And obviously, when you look at a lot of the guys that you have in the league, these are former players who still want to get paid a little bit, but more importantly, still want to play. First of all, how's the league going?
The league is great. You know, we've grown from 8 teams to 12. We're playing on 2 nights a week. Just signed a new deal with CBS, which is great. So the league is, taking a step in the right direction. And, the guys love the game. Right now the league, we're only in our 2nd year. Guys aren't getting paid with NBA salaries, nowhere close to that. But guys still love the game. They love the competition. And they know the league can grow. And the league is designed so they get paid as we grow. And it's just a great thing to see guys still have the passion to play this game at a high level.
Let me transition to the NBA game because obviously you've been an NBA fan for many, many years. You're an LA native. And the big story out here is the Los Angeles Lakers. I recall you on TV months ago, not only being one of the few who wasn't salivating over the arrival of LeBron James, but you actually questioned whether or not this was going to be a successful venture. What are your thoughts on what you've seen thus far from the Lakers this year?
Well, I mean, this year is not what anybody expected on a lot of levels. I did. I thought that this would be a year that LeBron could kind of take off. He's been to the finals, 8, 9 years in a row.
8 straight years in a row.
Okay, that's a lot of basketball. That's a lot of playing from the start of the season all the way to the last game. So I figured this year he would want to take a little time off the playoffs. Our team isn't really built to win the championship, so, who wants to go to the playoffs if you can't win the championship? So that's not how the Lakers are built. So that's fine. I thought he would, having a personality like LeBron, it could hurt in some ways the youth. We saw with this kind of trade debacle.
Involving Anthony Davis and how he was supposed to come before the trading deadline, but he ended up not getting here, and the team fragmented from that point forward.
Yeah, and people always talk about how it hurt the younger players, but it hurt the veteran players. Because now the veteran players realize, I'm not part of this championship thing we're trying to put together here. So they got to try not to get hurt, make sure they can land on another team. It's all kind of things that take away the effort, and that's kind of what happened.
Nobody has brought this up. I'm going to take credit for it. I brought it up this morning. I got to ask you this. Do you realize that the Los Angeles Lakers haven't been to the postseason since the passing of the great Dr. Jerry Buss? He passed away in February of 2013. That was the last time they've been to the playoffs. They haven't been to the playoffs in the 5 years since. This year is going to make 6. Do you see a pattern there in terms of, more than a coincidence, rather?
No, because I think, the Lakers have been trying to make moves to get them in the right position. We had some bad luck. We had bad luck with Steve Nash. We had bad luck with Dwight Howard. And it wasn't like the Lakers wasn't making the right moves at the right times. Just didn't work out. That happens. But, the Lakers now, I feel like, we went 12 years between championships before. So I think, it's a situation where we got to be patient. who gives a damn about the playoffs if you can't win a championship?
Let me transition to the National Football League because for those who don't know, you love the silver and black.
Yes.
You love the Raiders.
Yes.
Antonio
I'm
Brown.
the president of the Raider Nation.
There we go. Antonio Brown, the all-world wide receiver, is making news for all the wrong reasons these days. Actually calling out his former teammate, Juju Smith-Schuster. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I don't think it's cool to do that, but, he's a pirate now. What you expect?
Really? Is that simple?
It's
So you
that simple.
you don't mind him saying anything?
No, as long as he catch them balls and catch them passes and run them routes. And, I believe a little fire is needed in a team. I don't believe, everybody can do the Patriots formula and win. I think you got to have players that, give you a little personality, and I think that's exactly what he does.
Before I let you get on out of here, your last thoughts about the Big Three. I want to go back to that. How you feeling about the future for the Big Three?
I feel great. The league is on its way up. We've added some big-time players, and we're going to own the summer again.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
As always.
Appreciate you.
Ice Cube, he likes to say it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it too. There we go. I don't need to repeat that.